Absolutely. I think socialism is a failed system, and people kind of shy away and don't point out that he's a socialist, but socialism requires force. I mean, if you want to sell water or vegetables or cows under socialism, they put you in prison if you're not officially sanctioned by the government. The government owns the means of production, and the only way they can do that is by the force of the gun. And so that's why when you had socialism under Stalin, you had tens of millions of people killed. Some of them are just trying to grow vegetables on their own land. So socialism is not a benign economic system. It's a horrific system that requires violence. And ultimately, if people were serious about considering Bernie Sanders, they're going to have to understand that he'll have to defend the violence of socialism.
Well, that side of the argument would say, well, we're not socialists, we're democratic socialists. Therefore, that's a big deal. It's a lot different.
Well, you know, the difference is that once the majority votes for socialism and you decide you don't want to be any part of it and you decide you want to sell your widgets at whatever price you want to sell it whenever you feel like selling it, if you do that, they send the police to your house. So ultimately, even if a majority votes in socialism, it still requires a police. You have to have a state police that go and prosecute and arrest people who try to sell stuff that aren't officially approved by the state. And we're sort of in between that. We're in between capitalism and socialism now. We have a regulatory police. We have 48 agencies in the U.S. that actually can police and come into your business, often without judicial warrant. And so, you know, they want more of that, and those of us who think that the free market creates great wealth, we want a lot less government intrusion into your transactions.
Donald Trump wants to embrace thousands of Syrian refugees. You think that's a good idea?
I think we need to have big hearts, but I think we also need to be smart about what we're doing. You know, after the Iraq War, we admitted 70,000 Iraqi refugees, primarily Muslim. Some of them in Bowling Green, my hometown, tried to buy Stinger missiles to attack us. They also, if they're pro-Western, might have been some of the best people to actually rebuild their country rather than leave the country. But you can't look at these children and trying to cross the water in the Mediterranean without sympathy. But it gets back to you can have sympathy and then you have to have policy. If the Germans continue to offer, large amounts of money for people to come to their country, they will be overwhelmed. They've even cut it back in the last few days. This is ultimately what Friedman said. Can you have open borders in a welfare state?
Yeah.
They have an enormous welfare state in Europe, and now they have basically this beckoning and this open borders. If you want less terrible tragedy and less of a mess in the world, what we need to do is, we shouldn't have been funding ISIS. We shouldn't have been arming the Islamic rebels in all of these wars, because that has made the situation worse.
One last question here.